the worst perfume you'll ever smell. Lily had always dreamed of living in the lush jungles of South America. She loved the idea of swinging from vines and exploring the dense forests, searching for all kinds of exotic animals and plants. But unfortunately, Lily was an orphan, and she had been adopted by a cruel old lady who ran a perfume factory in a dirty old city. The old lady, Mrs. Grimble, treated Lily like a slave, making her cook, clean, and do all the dirty jobs at the factory. Mrs. Grimble thought that Lily was dumb, but Lily was actually very smart. She often overheard Mrs. Grimble talking to her colleagues about the different ingredients and techniques she used to create her perfumes, and Lily started to get ideas of her own. One day, Mrs. Grimble was preparing for a very important perfume show. She mixed a very special perfume and left it in her laboratory. She ordered Lily to clean up the lab, and Lily knew that this was her chance. "Lily, make sure you clean every inch of this laboratory," Mrs. Grimble said, her voice dripping with disdain. "I don't want any distractions when I present my new perfume to the world." Lily nodded and set to work, sweeping the floors and wiping down the counters. But as she worked, she couldn't help but think about all the ways she could get revenge on Mrs. Grimble for the way she had treated her. And then, an idea struck her. During the night, when Mrs. Grimble was fast asleep, Lily snuck into the laboratory and added some additional ingredients to the perfume. She wasn't sure what would happen, but she hoped that it would be something good. The next day, Mrs. Grimble and Lily went to the perfume show. Mrs. Grimble was excited to show off her new perfume mixture in the hopes of becoming rich when everyone loved it and wanted to buy it from her. "Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you my latest creation," Mrs. Grimble said, holding up the bottle of perfume. "It's a blend of the finest flowers and oils, guaranteed to make you smell delightful." As Mrs. Grimble sprayed the perfume on her neck, the audience watched with anticipation. But as soon as the perfume touched her skin, something strange happened. Mrs. Grimble's face turned red, and she started to itch. "What is this?" she shouted, scratching her neck frantically. "It's burning." Suddenly, Mrs. Grimble began shooting slime out of her mouth, nose, ears, and bottom. She was shooting disgusting slime out of every part of her body. She was like a fountain, spraying it all over the terrified people at the perfume show. The audience screamed and ran for cover, trying to avoid the slime that was flying everywhere. Some of them tripped and fell, and others were covered from head to toe in the gooey substance. "This is the worst perfume I've ever smelled," one man shouted, wiping the slime from his face. "It's like a saw exploded on me." Another woman shrieked, shaking her slime-covered dress. Lily couldn't believe what was happening. She had never seen anything like this before, and she couldn't help but laugh at the silly old lady who had caused her so much trouble. Mrs. Grimble ran off in embarrassment, leaving Lily behind. But Lily didn't mind. She took her opportunity to escape and got on a boat headed for South America, where she could finally live out her dreams. As the boat sailed away, Lily couldn't stop thinking about the incident with the slime. It had been the most hilarious and satisfying moment of her life, and she knew that she would never forget it. But she also knew that she would never forget her time at the perfume factory, and the lessons she had learned about always following your dreams, no matter how difficult it might seem. As the boat approached the shores of South America, Lily's heart skipped a beat. She couldn't wait to explore the dense forests and discover all the wonders that the jungle had to offer. As soon as the boat docked, Lily jumped off and ran into the jungle, her heart full of excitement and joy. She knew that this was where she belonged, and she was determined to make the most of her new life. And so, Lily spent the rest of her days exploring the jungle and having all sorts of adventures. She climbed tall trees, swam in crystal-clear streams, and discovered all kinds of exotic plants and animals. But no matter where her adventures took her, she always remembered the silly old lady who had tried to keep her down, and she was grateful for the opportunity to finally escape and follow her dreams.